Okay, today I want to talk a little bit about a subject known as mind control, and this is going to get a little bit into magic at some point. But this is to show, modern mystics. A lot of my subjects are geared towards helping people empower themselves, taking esoteric knowledge and giving it to people so they can see what it means to them. Over the years, I've acquired a lot of experience looking into these subjects. And again, I go through something called gang stalking, and I know there's a lot of people out there who go through gang stalking who often mention the concept of mind control. Mind control works completely different than what most people would think. Um, First of all, I want to take a little bit of time to give a brief history of how I got into looking into the subject. It was around looking into the World War II era, the group known as the Nazis, and I was always fascinated by this group. I went to a channeling session one time, and actually a few channeling sessions over the years. A good friend of mine was a channeler, and he told me that I had an incarnation as somebody during that era who lived in that area of the world, who was associated with some of the groups who may have been involved in mind control and manipulating the public and stuff. So anybody who knows anything about mind control knows that it has a negative connotation on it. Look at it like this: mind control is done through ritualistic types of endeavors, right? But we all use mind control on ourselves. We teach ourselves how to ride a bike. That's a form of mind control. If you're into martial arts and you want to learn a kata, you have to control. It's a form of mind control to get to that level. If you want to learn a new language, you have to, at some point, be involved in the art of mind control to teach yourself how to do that. Now, the concept of mind control is that somebody else on the outside is abusing your consciousness and getting you to do things that you did not come up with, or they're getting you to come up with the things in some way and then manipulating you through them. Now, again, going back to the World War II era and coming into the 60s and 70s, where everybody started hearing MK Ultra, the Germanic people historically were independent people, going back to the Viking heritage. And they came into a position to where they were attacked. It was a religious group who came in and attacked them. You can go back to like the Vatican, and the issue between the Romans, the Roman Church, and the Vikings. And so at some point, the Vikings converted to Christianity, and they were always really rebellious of it. They were one of the last groups in Europe that really did not want to be converted, but it just happened that way. They just slowly became Christians. And so there was always a small rivalry there, right? Between the Catholic Church and the German people. When they paid their taxes to the church, their money would disappear, and they never saw anything in return for it. And that made them very bitter. And they always had, like Martin Luther would always speak out against the Catholic Church. And they always had representatives who would say, hey, what's going on? We're giving you our money, but we're not seeing a return on our investment. We don't like what's going on. They were pushed into it to begin with. Coming into, getting out of the Middle Ages, coming into the era of World War II, the German people were presented with their own pagan heritage again, right? They were being shown, their ancient Viking heritage through symbolism. Through the Nazis were showing them these things and saying, you can go back to this, you can have this again, yada yada yada. So the German people were like, yeah, cool. We can have our own heritage. We can be independent again. And so, Hitler was doing a lot of marvelous things. It appeared like he was, fixing highways, building bridges. These people were poor coming out of World War I. And so where did the money come from? The money started pouring in. And they got to redo their lives, and, it looked like a very prosperous thing. Okay, now, again, I look at it realistically. It looks to me like they were bamboozled. It looks to me like, at the end of it all, the culture there was a lot of destruction that came out of it. Unfortunately, these individuals had to run and flee and leave their homeland where they grew up at. Their cities were destroyed. Beautiful cities. You know, things they had accomplished over years, architects and stuff like that. The stuff was just gone. And the Nazis had a lot of education, a lot of knowledge. And so a lot of these people left and went to different areas of the world. And people came to them, you know, saying, you know, okay, you have all this knowledge, you're intelligent. A lot of these guys were rich. They left with companies and all that stuff. You have some experience with, you know, consciousness and controlling the mind and all this. You know, can you educate us and teach us what you know? So, you know, when you're homeless, when you're living in an area, and you know you're fighting against people, you know, the wars on the east, wars on the south. You know, they're basically fighting everybody at one period. You know, and when you go through something like that, it's a traumatic experience. So these individuals, on some level, were already traumatized. Now, I'm not talking about the top people who never had to fight, but a lot of the guys who were on the battlefield, a lot of guys who had lived through that, a lot of these people, you know, it was a traumatization. They have to leave their culture and all this stuff and go off. So they're already coming from a perspective where they're kind of like in a fight, you know, fight or flight. A lot of these people went to different areas of the world and sort of like, you know, trying to blend in and hide out stuff. But people came to them wanting the knowledge, wanting to learn what they had of consciousness and all stuff of the mind. And so, you know, they taught them. You know, they taught them how to do this. Not that mind control, you know, of course, mind control had been going along before that. But, you know, you get religious mind controls, you know, but they taught these people these sciences and whatnot. And so when the MK Ultra stuff really came into effect on everyday people in America, you know, through a lot of different programs, a lot of people, I'm trying to come up with I'm trying to say it without having to, what I really want to say. A lot of people looked to it being as like a government structure type thing. But in reality, you know, a lot of these influences come from areas that are private. They come from the private sector in a lot of ways. And there's a lot of different people, you know, corporations want to sell things. They use various forms of mind control. There's been, you know, small groups like cults who wanted to use mind control for various purposes. There's a lot of different things going on out there. How you meet somebody and how you interact with people is number one. So if you're meeting people and you don't have a knowledge of self and you don't have a knowledge of what's happened in your history, like your family history, where you come from, where you're at on the earth, people can give you small pieces of information that's very powerful, and they'll show it to you, be like, oh my God, that's wonderful. They'll lure you in and make you feel special. Then they'll give you all these things that you have to do to maintain that around you. That's how a lot of the mind control works in these cults and stuff like that. They become the parents of the people. They become the leader. They think it's a group think type thing. And so overall, the whole country, the whole world to some degree goes through a form of general consensus, a general form of mind control. But most people who are targeted individuals who go through gang stalking, I'm saying on the gang stalking side, they actually think they're being mind controlled. People are being influenced, but they're not actually being mind controlled. I often said as an individual who's being mind controlled is an individual who really can't. They just can't make the choices they want to make, right? It's a situation where people can lose their identity. They can lose their names. Somebody can wake up in a hospital. Again, I've given this a lot, and be told you just killed such and such, and they won't remember it. They won't even know they did it. That's true mind control. That's true mind control. That's true mind control, where you'll have an altar that you don't even know about, and you can be out there doing things and interacting with people, and somebody can be pulling the switch. You don't know what's going on. but somebody could have the bullet. There are things like that going on out there. But most people that are being influenced, they think they're under mind control. They're not under direct mind control. Auto-suggestion is one form of influence. You constantly suggest something to somebody. Like if you keep saying it, 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 then eventually they'll go along with it. I guess that can be considered a form of mind control. You know, but there usually has to be something there to lure the person in. Usually people get... I'm gonna explain something to people. If you see something that you really want, and you're going for it, and you start ending up at private meetings, like you know, like it could be like a religious group, and there's only a small few amount of people there, and what you're saying there is in private and secret, and you know, like they have a little like people get invited to like witch covens and stuff like that. Where they can't leave the room. You know, what says in the room is supposed to be in the room. That's how you get lured into that sort of stuff. Groups who are into control, they offer like esoteric knowledge, but they're not there to spiritually enlighten you and empower you to make you a person of free thought to go out in the world and do your own thing. They're just into control. So a lot of people join associations and join groups thinking they're going to have this great enlightening gift, and they're going to be told all these wonderful secrets, and they're going to be in the know, and they're going to have all this power and stuff. That stuff's only there to control the individual who's going into it. You know, me and 5 people can get together and say, yeah, we're a society. You know, we're a small secret society, but we have all this powerful knowledge. And it just so happens we really like you and we want you to come in. And you're going to say, oh my God, me? Yeah, you. You know? Listen, did you know that historically, blah, 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 did you know this, did you know that? And the people are going to say, oh my God, it's a wonderful thing. Now, we might be a religious group. We might be working for some sort of church. And we may not believe in the religion. We're just using the religion. And we're asking you to come on board, and then you come in, and then you got to pray like this, you got to meditate in this sort of way, you got to do all this sort of stuff. Then pretty soon we start suggesting things to you that we want you to do. Now you know that we want you to do this, and a part of you might not want to do it. You might want to say, this is getting dangerous, and I don't want to do this. Now people might start, you know, spooking you a little bit, scaring you a little bit, get you to stay, or baby you a little bit and say, oh, it'll be okay, like this type of thing. That's how cults operate. And people are falling victim to this stuff, and they're coming into it. And then they slowly, over time, get worked on by the group. And they get, their consciousness gets shaped in a way to where it's groupthink. Their thought is not their own thought. The way they make decisions is made as a group, a collective, and stuff like that. That's a form of mind control. We may have some powerful answers. You know, my little religious group may have some answers. And this isn't anything secret. I mean, people do this as groups. You know, this happens in classrooms. This happens in churches. This happens, you know, it's not just like a secret group. But people come in and, you know, they're seeing all this wonderful stuff that they've never seen before. And they're saying, there's something there for me. But it's like, you can only have this secret stuff if you'll do what we do. But me and my group, we don't have anything more than what anybody else has. We just might have some old books or something like that and learned a few things along the way. And, you know, we're fooling people, tricking them. I'm not interested in this guy's spiritual enlightenment. I'm not interested in his saving his soul. I'm not interested in educating him. Truly, I'm interested in how am I going to be able to use him to accomplish my agenda. Whatever that may be. Do we want to sell more Bibles? Do we want to go out and convince the community that we're the most wonderful people in the world? and you know, at the same time we're doing all this other stuff in the background nobody knows. You know what I mean? So that's more along the lines how people are getting that confused with mind control. The real mind control is something, you know, that's just influencing an individual to not open their own voice. Real mind control is like, you know, we're bringing you into this building, and we're gonna put you to sleep. When you wake up, you're gonna think you got a totally different name. You're gonna think you're married to this woman. You've never seen her in your life, but you're gonna think that's your wife. Both of you are under the same mind control. We got you guys flying all over the world, passing notes and doing this stuff. But we can turn your altars on and off. Stuff that's real mind control, and that is out there. It is out there. That's the type of stuff I used to look into. I used to spend hours on the net looking into guys like, you know, Dr. Mengele, Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, all these guys who, you know, got down there into the Amazon and all jungle and all that stuff, you know, continued working on their experiments. I mean, I think it's fast. You know, it's unfortunate that if anybody got hurt from it, you know, I don't promote, you know, I don't think that's too cool, but it's just fascinating that there are individuals out there who can create people with alters and make them go out into the world and do that. There's people going through abduction programs and different things where they don't know they're being abducted. They're having screen memories and loss of memories and stuff like that. There are people who are experts in manipulating consciousness who can get to that level. But in general, mind control, and I'm saying this for a lot of people going through the gang stalking stuff, nobody has the power to control your mind. Not in that way. If they did, it's like what I'm talking about, bringing somebody into the laboratory and doing. If you got somebody that's skillful to operate on that level, yeah, you can do that. But it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy, and they would have to be. They do stuff like that for a real reason. You know what I mean? That you're talking about patience and energy and timing. And they got to look after the individual they're doing that to. That isn't a simple type of thing. But for somebody being fooled into thinking, you know, there's somebody they're not, that happens every day. A pimp does that. That's what pimps do. A pimp will meet some woman and make her think all these wonderful things, and next thing you know, she'll be doing dates out of a telephone booth somewhere in the South Bronx or something. I mean, you know, that's what you know, people, reverends and preachers do that. They fool people into buying them cars, and you know, you can be heavily influenced by people, but that's not mind control though. That's just swindling somebody, making them feel like they're a part of something bigger. Using them for what you got to use them for, and you know, just keep it moving. That's what's going on. So I want the reason why I say this to people is because I want people to have a sense of their own self, to have a sense of their own power. And when you believe somebody is in control of your mind, then they're in control of your mind, you know. But don't. There's all kinds of people on the internet talking about, I'm going to type it in, MK Ultra and all this stuff, and I feel kind of bad for the people. I'll type in MK Ultra target. I feel kind of bad for the people because they really believe somebody's controlling their mind. And they're making, I'm not just talking about just gang stalking, but I'm just putting this in there. They're making it seem 10 times more than what it is by doing that. But people who aren't talking about, people who don't even, I don't even know what, people who aren't talking about gang stalking, we're saying MK Ultra victims. Let me see this. A lot of these people are scared. Kathy O'Brien, she used to be a friend of mine. I mean, I haven't talked to her in a long time, but we talked. I think a lot of these people are scared. They're scared to say that a lot of these people who have grown up under certain conditioning and certain influence, they know there's something wrong going on, and they know they're living a life they don't want to live, and they're afraid to speak. They're afraid to speak for themselves. A lot of it's fear. Yeah. So if you notice, there's a huge influx of people going through. A lot of them have implants. Like if somebody thinks they're under mind control in the last few decades, especially if they're coming out of the era of like from the '60s to the '80s, you know, a lot of them would have implants in their mind. You even see scars. Some of the people who've been under mind control, they have scars on their head where they've had electrodes put into their brain, and like the people would heat them up. They would heat their mind up and sit back and watch what they do. Sometimes they'd put people in a room and heat them up just to see how the people would react to it. And the people are still walking around today. They're not really under mind control, but they still have the implant. They're not really under mind control. They've just been experimented on. But that's the ultimate form of any type of control, is getting somebody to believe they're under mind control. Consciousness is a powerful thing. So that's what I just want to leave people with. That's what I always tell people is if you're being brought into some sort of group, and again, I know I've said this before, but I just want to say it again. If you're being brought into some sort of group, fortunately for myself, I've never had to experience this, but if you're being brought somewhere and the people are trying to, make you feel like they're going to enlighten you or make you feel like there's something special about you, and you start to notice you're getting more and more further away from your family, from your friends, from the general public, and the only people there are the people who are in the group, stuff like that. Now you begin to see there's something wrong, and it can happen in plain sight. It doesn't have to happen by you being taken to some hidden mountain city or something. It can happen in broad daylight in regular society. You know, um, these people are just going to keep telling you, "Hey, you're a part of something special. You're a part of something important. You're the chosen. You're the chosen." Blah blah blah. For whatever, they'll have a whole rap to it, and you'll be like, "Oh, okay." And then they'll show you some secrets, or they'll give you some positions in something, and the next thing you know, you know you're in some sort of cult, and they're looking at they see cults look at it like this. Cults look at it like, not only do we get the people, but now we get their offspring. So their children's, the cult's looking at it like we get the adults, but now we get the youngsters too. Cults look at it, in a very, it's like property. It's like how you look at chickens and dogs and animals. They look at it like that. They look at it like property, like cattle, like sheep. Like a farmer goes out and slaughters one of his cows, he got a whole bunch of them. And once you get into a cult, I've noticed things about cults. Once you get into a cult, they're looking at it like no one's going to believe you. So if you get into a cult and you learn you're in a cult and you learn all these secrets and you know everybody's position in the cult, they're looking at it like no one's going to believe you. And then if you do go out and start talking about it, you know something bad's going to happen. The cult's going to come after you. They're coming to get you. We're your God. You leave your thinking to us. We brought you in. And you're going to leave and reveal what you've seen in the cult? There's a lot of people in cults that are terrified to leave. They're in the cult, and they can walk away, but they're terrified to. And the cult's doing all their thinking for them, and the cult will tell them everything right until they're laying on the ground dead. I'm not trying to sound negative. I'm saying sometimes it gets to that point. It gets to that point sometimes. So that's my interpretation of what people are saying. With mind control and all this stuff. You see like Heaven's Gate and whatnot. I'm speaking more about the stuff that people have seen in the mainstream. But it is manipulation. Making people think that there's something better there for them. They'll have a better way of life. And then by the time they realize that they've been lollygagged, they've been bamboozled, overplayed for the sucker play, then it's too late. Or they feel it's too late. I've had to tell people that in my past. I come across a couple of people that were they were into I don't know, sort of like I can't really say it's anything nefarious, but it was like kind of like a thing like you want to have support, you want to belong, you want to have friends and all this stuff, and some of it was like religious, like pamphlets, that type of thing, and I could tell that to people. I was like, they don't care about me. They're trying to use me. Seeing people from Scientology, do that. Come on in and get an audit. Come on in and get an audit. After I just saw an A&E how they were, all that stuff they were doing, I'm gonna go in there after I just saw what you were doing on A&E. You're out of your mind. Yeah. So discovering That's why I always teach people, try to share with people when you're talking about esoteric research, is discovering your own power, your direct source to creation. And I always tell people, I always talk about extraterrestrials and bloodlines of the ETs are in people. And I always look at it like, what's a man going to offer me? I'm certified, I'm certified by the gods every single day. Born certified by the gods. You're talking about like the entities who help to create humans? Like that's already, like that's in my blood. That can't be sold to me. That's a birthright. Speaking about the extraterrestrial bloodlines, who came to Earth many, talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, and helped to create humans for various purposes. And there's already cities here, and they brought the humans into the cities and all that stuff. And I don't even talk bad about, like, so some people wanted some mining work done, so they created humans from the Yetis, the Bigfoot people, and all that stuff. And so you've had mystery schools around ever since then, And it's like, I'll be damned if I'm going to pay a man to show me about the entities that are inside my own blood. Certified by it. So that's a powerful thing. Instead of going, I teach people to create their own. And there's nothing wrong with getting together with others and learning and studying and doing all that. But I don't want anybody to trick you out of your stuff, man. You can look at all this stuff around the world, like ancient temples and secrets and knowledge and stuff. And when you get into it, it's ultimately going to go back, speaking about, the gods and stuff, and then bringing that stuff here. But if you know that's already in you, in your DNA, and you know the history of the earth and stuff, then you got to take your own time out to study for yourself and not make that somebody else's responsibility. Because basically what you're saying is, when you leave it to somebody else, basically what you're saying is like, I'm not responsible enough to do my own research and to figure out the history of who I am and where I come from. And I'm going to leave that responsibility to another individual. That's disrespecting the knowledge right there. You've just disrespected the knowledge by saying that, you're not going to go on your own personal journey with it. You just separated yourself through another man. That's why I never understood confession. Like, instead of going to source, you put another man or another woman. I just don't. I've always had an issue with that. Like the spirits. I always tell people this. Like, the spirits are always, watching, trying to give people information, insights, and trying to make them whole. People call them like guardian angels and stuff. But the spiritual world is always watching, trying to help people to better themselves. And it's like, if you give up on yourself, they're going to give up on you. And there's never an ending of knowledge. Like, there's never an ultimate answer or ultimate level. Like, knowledge is an ever-going thing. It's an ever-going process. So there's always going to be something there that you can walk away with. There's always going to be something there that you can walk away with at the end of the day. If you study, and you can learn something from it. You'd be surprised who you can learn stuff from. People are fooled. People look at ordinary people walking around and don't base anything off, never base a book on its cover. You can get fooled very easily. There's all sorts of people. You can learn almost anything from anybody. The thing, and I don't mean, and I'm at a place in my life where I try not to sound disrespectful. The thing that bothers me about the MK Ultra thing is I don't like the idea of you have individuals who want to feel, people want to feel empowered. So there's people out there who feel empowered by trying to take advantage of somebody else. And to me, that's not really, I don't think that's cool. I really don't think that's cool. I think the concept, a real master doesn't need a slave. If you really think about it, a real master doesn't need it. If a master is dependent upon a slave, then a slave is a master just as much as the master is. You know what I mean? It's a relationship because both are dependent upon each other. So I've never liked the idea of an individual thinking I can get over on somebody and get away with what I want to get away with, and they can't do anything about it because I'm in control and I have all these secrets. I just don't. That's always rubbed me the wrong way. I've never really. That's always rubbed me the wrong way. It always has. You try to respect everybody though. Like the universe, there's a place for everybody within creation. I can't be, you got to have a general respect. If you want to be in harmony and balance, you want to have a general respect for anybody you come across. But it just always rubbed me the wrong way, though. It always has. That somebody's, and it always comes out. People think they can just always get over on people, and they don't ever have to answer for it. That's the thing about mind control is like these guys are coming from these women. A lot of times it's women. They're coming from a place where people have done all this stuff to them, and sadistically, like they've been cut. It's just people have been cut. People have been tortured. And it's like a thing where none of it can ever, you know what I mean? Where no one's going to believe them and the people can get away. That's just always rubbed me wrong. It's like somebody who kicks a dog. They don't think the dog's ever going to have a voice in it. So they keep every time no one's looking, they kick the dog. Because they're afraid that they go to work every day. They don't like their job and they got an issue with their boss. And they can't face their boss, so they come home and kick the dog. And the dog doesn't have a voice, so the dog can't say anything. So you're scared to do what you really want to do, so you're going to kick that dog. That's type of stuff that's always rubbed me the wrong way. I never liked it. But at the same time, though, I've always come to the conclusion that looking at it on a deeper level, oftentimes as the individual, they're afraid. They're in some sort of fear. They have some deep insecurity or some fear. So that's why that dog. So that's why they don't. So that's how that dog ends up getting kicked. So that's why I tell people, man. Every time I come on, I always tell people, sir, I'm gonna start saying that more often. Tell people, empower people, certified by the guides, man. And that's not even creation. Everybody and everything comes out of the ultimate force of creation. Creation isn't subjected to anybody. Everybody comes from time, different religions, the concept of time, different languages, Earth, Mars. All these are different concepts within creation. But the idea of that power coming, that, certified by the